welcome to the Above Average Podcast, the only AA meeting worth attending and the only refuge for the above average. I'm your host, Lake, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tanim. Tanim, long time no see. How's quarantine? How you doing?
Yeah, it's just hanging in there. I think this whole COVID thing is definitely taking its toll finally. The whole isolation and just kind of like your days kind of mesh together, and like weekdays have the same feeling, and like you just kind of want, an extended weekend every weekend. And I think the issue is also because I work from home, and a lot of people who work from home, there's really no separation between your work and your personal life. So just kind of, you can't really go out and kind of unwind anymore.
No, I'm finding the same thing because I also work from home. So for those of you listening, you're not going to get any different perspectives of what it's like to work from home versus not. But yeah, no, I did not expect kind of the last part of quarantine to be psychologically the most difficult. It's like we're so close to being done. We're so close. Like we'll all be vaccinated probably like end of the summer max.
Right.
And yet we have probably the heaviest restrictions we've ever had. And, like you said, we're trapped inside and working from home, and all the days are kind of blurring together. Because, there's no, when you're working from home, you just kind of go from your desk to your bed and back again. It's just, and every day is the same. There's nothing to differentiate the two.
Right. And like for me, it's just like sometimes you like dread going to like your office because it's just like the work area, and then there's really no separation. So it's just more of a mind state they kind of have to get out of, and like maybe try to like go for walks or whatnot.
Yeah, no, but it's difficult because as it's gone on, I found the restrictions more and more irritating. Not that I'm like an anti-mask or anti-lockdown kind of guy, but like sometimes they just seem kind of Kafkaesque and pointless, especially now, because it feels like at this point it's more about appearing to be doing something as opposed to actually doing something. Because, if they wanted to do something, they would have upped enforcement in warehouses and that sort of thing, and tried and cracked down on businesses claiming to be essential but not really, to kind of stop the spread, and also close school. But now they're just fencing off the fucking cherry blossoms in High Park. And I went to High Park and I saw the fence where they fenced off the cherry blossoms, but you can still see the cherry blossoms from across the fence. So it's pointless and stupid, and they have 2 cops guarding the cherry blossoms. Make sure you don't cross the fence. You'll definitely get COVID if you go too close to the cherry blossom tree.
Right, like in every park that you kind of pass by, it's just rammed with people, huge crowds, and everyone's just like chilling on the grass, and no one really gives a shit.
Well, and people don't have anything else to do. Like, on an average day, these people would, I don't know, go sailing or whatever the fuck people do.
Yeah, we all have sailboats.
Yeah, everyone has sailboats. Goes to the movies, going to restaurants. But like now, everyone's just stuck in like the one whole square kilometer of green space we have in Toronto. It's tricky. And then you have the stupid social distancing circles. But then like you get when people go to the park, then pictures appear online of people enjoying themselves in the park, and people lose their minds, and then the mayor and the premier think they have to crack down on outdoor activities. Like all evidence points to the fact that like most of the outbreaks are happening because, a lot of people still have to go to work, and they're forced to like be in crowded warehouses and, transmit the illness to each other.
Right.
Or like they got to go from their crowded house to their crowded bus to their crowded workplace.
Yeah, just like a huge cycle.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. So this is definitely the most frustrating part of quarantine. You're getting your vaccine soon?
Yeah, whenever I can get it, or it's available for us. I'm not in one of those hot zones.
Yeah, no, me neither. Like the worst thing I've learned throughout this whole thing is I am somehow like one of the healthiest people in the whole country. I have no idea how that happened. For anyone who knows me, like I do not deserve to be one of the healthiest people. Like I do not take care of myself. And yet I don't have any of the chronic illnesses or BMI or anything necessary to be given priority for a vaccine. So here we are. I'm just unfairly a very healthy person according to the government. So
it must be all those Cocoa Pebbles you've been eating.
Yeah, exactly. It's all. I'm too cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs to to get COVID.
They should definitely sponsor us.
No, they definitely should. Cocoa Puffs, if if you're listening, I
What
did
is that,
not
post?
get COVID because I ate your Cocoa Puffs. Like, but there is, in no just world would I be this healthy. And but it's also one of the things I learned is, like, I'm healthy, but I'm also, privileged to be working from home and, work for a company where I get sick days. And, like, did you know this? Did you know people like there was no mandatory sick days?
What do you mean?
And, like, so, when you get sick, like, you take a paid sick day. And, you know you always assume, like, we have mandatory 2 weeks paid vacation, that we similarly have, like, maybe 5 days of mandatory sick days,
Yep.
or paid sick days. Turns out we don't. Like, in Ontario, there's no mandatory paid sick days.
Right. I guess it does depend on the specific company.
No, exactly. Like, and like, shows my own privilege that, like, I never knew this, because, I always had sick days, wherever I worked. Every company I worked for had at least some paid sick days. So it's just never something I thought about. So I always assumed we had mandatory paid sick days, but I've just been surviving on the good graces of my employers.
Right.
Yeah. So what happened this week? But so at the time of recording this, we're about 1 week out from the Academy Awards, and it's the first, well, technically the second awards to happen during COVID, but the first awards to happen where the entire movie year was kind of trapped in streaming, and no one went to theater.
I mean, the whole thing was a shit show. Well, mostly because, well, had no idea when it was happening, and then two, when I saw what was like nominated, it was just like, what are these movies?
Yeah, no, like, no one. You're definitely not alone. I held an Oscar pool at work, and no one knew any of the movies. But the new guy won, like, by magically guessing like 90% of the winners right. No idea how he did that, but I'm gonna use him for sports betting in the future. But
What did he win?
he won, like, we gave him like an Amazon gift card or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was like, I saw, I think, 3 movies that were nominated. I saw Mulan, Tenet, and Minari. Saw nothing else. Like, and I was looking into it. Like, some of them are, a lot of them are Netflix movies, like Netflix originals, or one of them, Greyhound, which was nominated for sound, is an Apple TV original. And sorry, and I saw the sequel to Borat, which was nominated for a few things. Borat's an Amazon original, but a lot of these you could only rent, like, by paying money. And some of them, I looked into it, and especially for short films, there was no way to find them anywhere.
Right.
And what I found for the short films, the ones that were made by Netflix and were available on Netflix, and, therefore easier for people to access, won the awards. And I think part of that is just Academy voters just thought, like, oh, hey, I saw this on Netflix, I'll check this out and I'll vote for this movie. Like, I wonder if that's a factor, because, presumably, like, some of the celebrities that vote for the Academy, like, don't watch all the movies. Like, they just go based on what they saw, on Netflix that year.
Yeah.
Like, are you a member of the Academy, or?
No, why would I be?
No, you just worked on movies in the past. I wasn't sure if it was enough to get you into the Academy of
No,
Motion Picture Arts and
definitely
Science.
not in that category. But were any of those movies any good to watch?
Minari was good, but it's kind of a slice of life type movie where not, like, too much happens. It's about the struggle of a Korean family who immigrates to rural Arkansas in the 1970s. I'm normally really not into that kind of film, but it was touching. It was a good movie. Judas and the Black Messiah, I'd really love to see. I have very high hopes for that. Daniel Kaluuya is a fantastic actor, and I think he rightfully won Best Supporting Actor. And a lot more Christian than I expected. Oh, he gave a very funny acceptance speech. I'm pretty sure he was intoxicated, but he said, "My mom and dad had sex, and now I'm here. It's beautiful."
Did you actually watch the Oscars?
Yeah, watch the whole thing.
Lucky you.
Yeah, no, and it was, but so I know you're saying like it's a shit show because like a lot of the movies, no one's ever heard of them, and Nomadland does not look good. Like it looks like Three Billboards, but again, and Three Billboards was not good. No offense, Francis McDormand, but a little bit of offense. Um, but the real shit show was the Best Actor winner. Now, I don't know if any of you know this, but the etiquette of the Oscars is if you die, you're supposed to win. You gotta win. And as we all, and that's what we did with Heath Ledger and the Joker. He died, therefore he deserved to win the Oscar posthumously.
What was his name from Black Panther? And
Chadwick
then what,
Boseman.
Hopkins won?
Yeah. So, but it's even worse than that because as some of you might know, the way they do the order of the awards is at the end of the night, you have the last year's Best Actress giving out the Best Actress award, last year's Best Actor giving out the Actor award, and then at the end of the night, they do Best Picture because Best Picture is the biggest award there is. And this night, they changed the format. They did Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Actor. And I can only assume that they moved Best Actor to the end in order to have the whole catharsis of this year's Oscars be Chadwick Boseman's family gratefully accepting the Academy Award and giving a nice little speech on Chadwick Boseman's legacy. For those who don't know, he was nominated for a film called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is a film about a jazz singer, I believe in the 30s. Again, haven't watched it. I've watched nothing in the Oscars. But so etiquette dictates that he should have won. But then he didn't win, much to everyone's surprise. Chadwick Boseman did not win the Academy Awards for Best Actor. Anthony Hopkins won for Father. And the kicker of it all is Anthony Hopkins is an 83-year-old man and is not an American and is living in Wales, where he's from. And so he didn't come to the Oscars because I can only assume he didn't think he would win, and it wasn't worth the risk of dying of COVID. And so Anthony Hopkins wasn't even there to accept the award and give a speech, and he wasn't even there by Zoom call. So the awards night just fucking ended. It was the greatest upset I've ever seen. The biggest anticlimax of any Oscars I've ever seen.
Yeah, you love this shit.
Like, oh, it was awful, awful. Like I'm telling you, the Academy should have rigged it. Like they really just should have rigged it.
Right.
Like just told Ernst and Young, like, we're doing this for Chadwick Boseman. Just let us rig this one award. Because come on, man, you gotta give it to the dead guy. Those are the rules.
Well, they flipped the rules this year.
Like shit, maybe like I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like
for me at least, I mean, I've got a love-hate relationship with like award shows and shit.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Just being in it and knowing kind of the process of it. I mean, maybe not so much Academy Award, but just like awards in general. Like you think they're all fair, the best person will win, but biases and like hidden agendas. You can obviously buy awards.
Oh, of course. Do you have any examples you're legally allowed to disclose, or?
I mean, just working kind of advertising industry. Like I know shops that will prevent their employees from not going on vacation during award week or month.
Oh, okay.
Just to push out free pro bono work for these campaigns to win awards.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
They'll prevent them from going on Christmas holidays early, and just because like there's award season and certain agencies, I've been in situations where there's like a conflict of interest, where it's like one of the judges for the awards has work within that competition, so it's just like how do you judge your own shit?
Yeah, no, that's kind of always been the issues with the Oscars and I guess the Grammys as well. Is that they're industry awards, and industry awards are by their nature given out by and voted on by people within the industry, so there's kind of an inherent conflict of interest already. Right.
And then with like even with like the Oscars, like they're always kind of trying to make it so that they're for the people and like they respect everyone. Whereas like if you've ever been to like a award show, you just see like all the people kind of like caged off to like a certain section, kind of worshiping all these like actors and actresses. They'll just close the door and be like, okay, you can watch us from your houses.
Peasants
the fact
out.
that they kind of displaced all the homeless people from the awards, and then like your best picture is about a movie about homeless people.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something to consider. Just the hypocrisy of it all, and yeah, and at the very least, if they're going to be, hypocritical capitalist types about it, they could at least put on a fucking show. At least, give the people what they want instead of the night's already about jerking yourself off. At least give us Chadwick Boseman. Come on. Like that is a man of the people.
Did they have like a memoriam?
They did. And as you said, like the reason I asked if you were a member of the Academy is Darkman X DMX, peace be upon him, also died a few weeks ago, and apparently he was a member of the Academy because he's been in a few movies. So, and 3-6 Mafia and Eminem are also like voting members of the Academy because
But they won
yeah,
awards.
no, exactly. They have Oscars. Like 3-6 Mafia has an Oscar. Like for best soundtrack, obviously, but still, 3-6 Mafia is voting on the Oscars. A weird thing. So I don't know. If 3-6 Mafia has an Oscar, maybe you're maybe you're in there somewhere. Any ambition to become a voting member of the Academy?
No, I'll give it to you.
Give me the voting membership?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you heard it here, folks. If Tanim ever becomes a voting member of the Academy, I get to vote on his behalf. That's what I choose to hear.
You can attend and workshop all your ideas with.
Nice. See, I'm so part of like one thing I haven't talked about is like a lot of the pageantry was gone because there wasn't a lot of like the performances they do, because like we said, like there's a bunch of musicians with awards, so like they come on and do songs for the show, that sort of thing. It adds a bit of fun to the evening, but no, not this evening, not this one. So they gave us shit all.
Didn't some big director direct it?
The awards?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know actually.
Pretty sure someone directed it.
Let me check. Oh, if it was Darren Aronofsky, I'm gonna be so mad. Director of the night. I'm googling it now.
Fincher? I don't know.
Wait, Fincher did it? Huh. Though they did surprise me in that. It was directed by Glenn Weiss, who I don't know who Glenn Weiss is.
Nice.
Yeah, I have no idea who Glenn Weiss is. He did SpongeBob the Musical. That's all I got.
That's got Oscars written all for it.
Yeah, exactly. I really thought they were going to give everything to Mank. And the reason I thought that was because I thought Mank is about Herman Mankiewicz, who was one of the producers for Citizen Kane. And the movie is about him producing Citizen Kane. And I thought it was going to be like this whole self-jerk-off redemption arc where they make it up for not giving Citizen Kane the Academy Awards in the 1930s, because a lot of people don't know this, but Citizen Kane did not win Best Picture, and it was up the same year as The Maltese Falcon, which is also considered one of the best movies of all time. Neither of them won Best Picture. Instead of an obscure film called How Green Was My Valley won, and I'm sure it's not as good, but I'd love to see the movie that beat Citizen Kane at the Academy Awards. So, right. No redemption arc for the Oscars. They had a movie about one of the biggest Oscar robberies of all time, and then did one of the biggest Oscar robberies of all time. Bit of a shit show. But speaking of shit shows, you had something about the Blue Jays you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting because like you don't watch sports at all, so
yeah, I'm not the sports guy.
Was it yesterday? I think they came out with an announcement that Toronto Blue Jays' only Hall of Famer, Roberto Alomar, got dropped from as a consultant. He was one of the players who won us the World Series back to back, and there was allegations of him sexual misconduct, and fired him and took his name down from the banner. So what's your thoughts on professional sports, winning in a World Series or a big trophy for a city, but then that being taken down because of personal?
Well, I've always been out of the loop on baseball because I'm from Ottawa. We don't have baseball in Ottawa. Toronto's the only city in Canada that cares about baseball. But it's tricky, I guess. It doesn't undo their achievements in a sense,
Right.
because they could have just as easily not have done what they did and become
Hall of Fame or whatever.
great sports heroes and great athletes. And it's not like cheating or anything where like it directly and very meaningfully impacts the way you played the sport. Like in that sense, your awards were unearned, but it's hard because football has this problem more than baseball. Have I ever told you who the two greatest football players of all time are?
According to what? Just in general?
So I'm measuring the two greatest football. If you do it by touchdowns, then it's Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's a very boring lace curtain, straight lace guy. The two greatest football players of all time, as measured by yards per season and yards per carry. Those two are respectively O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
And Michael Vick. So the guy who killed his wife and the guy who
Unleashed the dogs on everyone.
Had a dogfights ring. And I don't even think they got him on dogfighting. I think they got him on illegal gambling, which is just like having a dogfighting ring is just the most southern US thing I've ever heard of. It's the most football thing where you just like get these dudes who are just like not too bright, and they're from like these shit small towns in Alabama and Mississippi and like the football belt of America, and then give them millions of dollars, and of course they're gonna fucking unleash dogs against each other for money. Like that's just a natural consequence. Michael Vick may be a dog fighting gambling degenerate, but he's still the greatest, one of the greatest football players of all time. And the dogfighting doesn't necessarily impact it. It does change how I think about him, like on a personal level, but in that case I wouldn't know about removing his jersey, though I think part of it might be that if he did his crimes while he was winning, maybe it's a little different than if he committed his crimes like kind of 10 years later.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Because on a level, I get it. Like if he killed someone, like I would totally get it, and that's also pretty, like, sexual assault's also really bad. So no one's comfortable having Aaron Hernandez's jersey up because he killed like 3 people. You know what? I guess it makes sense not to have his jersey up.
Right.
But it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame.
So do people get looked at badly now if you wear like an Alomar jersey at a Jays game?
I wonder. You know what they should? Well, the way Kraft organized it is the New England Patriots' response to Aaron Hernandez's murder charges was like swift and merciless. They had a day where you could trade in your Aaron Hernandez jersey for something else, and there's a lot of dudes with the last name Hernandez who were really upset because, like, oh man, shit, like, I got to wear a jersey with my last name on it, and that was pretty cool. Now you can't, and it sucks because we are robbed of a fantasy in some way. It's not that they didn't do anything wrong or we want to like cover it up. But I get that people are upset that like person like through their crimes like ruins themselves for you, and on some level I want to say like no, they don't have the right to like ruin my memories of like the Blue Jays World Series championship, or ruin like my fond memories of it, or ruin the jerseys I bought. I guess it's not about how I feel, it's about how the victim feels. You really wish they could have lived better. It's a damn shame that it's our only Hall of Famer. Sad it turned out that way.
Yeah, and especially like if you hold people to like a high regard as role models, it's just like tough to like
to
see that.
kind of have that robbed from you, because in a way, it's kind of like when he does that, when he commits those acts, like he's hurting, obviously not nearly as much as his victims, but he's hurting the culture itself because he's poisoning it.
Yeah, the league and the
Yeah.
team, and that's why they kind of want to not
Yeah,
associate
but
themselves with them.
like it doesn't ruin it for me because like I was born in 1993. I don't remember the World Series, and I didn't even live in Toronto until like 2011. So like it doesn't mean much for me. But
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is I get why I get to some extent why people get upset about when these things happen, because in their minds they're like, shit, I didn't do anything wrong, why do I have to like ruin my own memories? And it's a difficult thing to reckon with. You have to, but it's hard for people to reckon with it, move on.
To move on,
And
yeah.
it's hard, yeah, because especially because sports is such an escapism for people. Like people get like so much of sports is about fantasy, like not about like the real people, but like fantasies of glory and something more. That kind of segues into fantasy ruining. Let's talk about that European Super League. Now, for everyone's context, I am not a soccer guy. I fucking hate soccer. I hate everything about it. I hate the teams. I hate the game. I hate fucking league structure. Hate everything about it. Tanim loves soccer, but my hatred of soccer is borderline irrational. So we're gonna have some disagreements on this one probably. So
I mean, I like all
all right,
sports,
fair
so it's
enough.
just you kind of see what they're trying to kind of stir up with any type of sport. You go to a game to watch the best
Yeah.
players
Oh,
play.
sorry. For those who don't know, we should probably give an introduction of what the new Super League is, because I'm not a soccer fan, so I didn't really get this. But do you want to like kind of explain like what J.P. Morgan was trying to do with this?
I mean, it's pretty much just taking the best teams in the league and creating a whole new league so that they play, that you see the best players against each other, as opposed to like the worst team against the best team, and then it's just a total
Yeah, which
blowout.
fair enough. So that's one argument for it, but I think I've talked to a lot of Europeans about this because I didn't get it. Like I didn't get it. So like you mentioned with the Super League, what they're doing is they're creating a closed league
Right.
where normally in soccer there's relegation and promotion. Is it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
most relegation, so like any team kind of has a chance to make it up to the ranks and play the best teams, and then the best teams can also get knocked out.
Yeah. So, what would be a minor league team for us has a chance, if they do really well in the minor leagues, to get promoted to a higher league and have a chance at, the highest league championship, which I guess in the case of English soccer is the Premier League, right? Like that's the
Right,
highest league.
and then like the big competition is Champions League, where like the best kind of compete each other, and that's kind of like what the League's trying to emulate.
Is the Champions League like, is that just like the best teams from each of the individual leagues in Europe, or like it's a European wide thing instead of a national thing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So soccer has relegation and promotion. So theoretically, you can have a minor league team become like the European champion of soccer, and that kind of happened a few years back when Leicester
Yep.
won the Premier League, because Leicester's like a minor team, and they managed to win the entire Premier League. That's a special moment. And what I was talking about with Europeans, so because there's relegation and promotion, there's always this fantasy that your small town team can make it to the biggest league. A lot of Europeans were saying, and this is a foreign concept to me because I'm used to North American sports where it's a closed league, that they were saying if there's no relegation or promotion, then the whole league is pointless. Like all of soccer is pointless without it, which totally blew my mind because that's an alien concept to me. Like I didn't even understand relegation and promotion until like a year ago.
Right.
Basically, the plan is that they'd gather up the best teams, put them in like a closed super league that you couldn't get into, and then it would be basically like the NFL of soccer, or the NBA of soccer, where you just had like the best professional teams from across Europe playing against each other. And FIFA was against this, and like the European, the whoever the guys who UEFA, yeah,
Yep.
UEFA was against it, and a lot of the fans were against it because like it ruined their fantasy that like
Anyone can make
yeah,
it.
their little shitty amateur team could make it to the end. Like I don't know, what would that ruin it for you? Like as a soccer fan, would it?
I mean, I see both sides. I like the whole idea of relegation because like whole kind of David and Goliath storyline of like the underdogs beating all the favorites, and now you know who they are, and now they have more money to buy really talented players and make a name for themselves. But then when you have this league that's all closed off, the whole point of you watching these really great games like the Champions League is to see the best players compete against each other. So
Yeah. It was part of it that like so like Manchester United and Barcelona like was the idea that like they would come to the Super League and then go back and play in like the Premier League or La Liga or the Bundesliga.
yeah, it's like it would happen in between season EPLs or any type of leagues to just be like a league within the season.
So was their biggest issue that like these super teams would then like have even more money than before and have an unfair
Yes,
advantage? Okay, all right, that makes a lot more sense now. Okay, like because if they were like just leaving the Premier League and the Bundesliga, that in a way, I think that would make sense because what I never got about relegation and promotion is that the issue and like a long-standing issue I've had with European soccer is that they have a problem where two or three teams, and in the case of the German Bundesliga, one team dominates completely. In the German Bundesliga, Munich's soccer team has won every year for the past 10 years, every single one, and it's I believe it's won over 50% of championships since the league was formed. And in the case of the Spanish La Liga, Barcelona and Madrid win 2/3 of the time, and then in the case of the English Premier League, I believe the top three teams, which are Manchester United, Manchester City, and Chelsea, have won 80% of the time in the last 2 decades. So that while there are instances where teams like Leicester break through and come from the minor leagues and do this fantasy of like fulfill this fantasy of like starting from the bottom and going to the top, most of the time that's not what happens. Most of the time these super teams win, and to me that's not very fun, and it's why I like to a large degree I prefer North American sports, because and this isn't a problem like of inherent to open or closed systems, but I think like the North American leagues have done a better job of balancing it.
right. And Leicester's not really. It's not a minor team. It's just like they're just not a huge like heavy favorite.
Like they're just not like Manchester United or
Yeah,
Chelsea or
it's not
Arsenal.
like a stacked team that you expect to win.
Okay, so like it wasn't even like it wasn't even like they weren't like a small town like amateur association football
No,
club.
they're still in the whole league. It's just like you just don't expect them to beat all the heavy giants.
No, that's fair. Yeah, yeah, like because in North American sports, like bad performing teams don't get relegated, and I guess the difference between North American sports and European sports is like players get relegated and promoted, but teams don't. In that sense, there's probably some more financial stability to it, but like for the team owners,
It's not as exciting for fans. Like if a heavy favorite team has a chance to like get kicked out of the league and like a new team comes up, that's like pretty exciting.
yeah, no, fair enough. I guess that's true. Like my only argument like against that is just that like it seems to rarely happen. Like the fantasy of like rising to the top doesn't like it just almost doesn't seem to be relevant because of you know how thoroughly dominated they are by the top team. And until that changes, it's good. I like the idea in theory, but it just doesn't seem like it's actually had an impact on the sport itself.
Well, that's because the leagues don't allow it. Soccer's the only league that allows relegation.
No, yeah, fair enough. Like it just doesn't seem to have like made it more interesting. At least not for me. Like just because, you know, is it going to be Manchester United that wins the Premier League or is it going to be Manchester City? It's just it doesn't seem to have an impact where you can actually see like a grassroots amateur team kind of take on the giants. Like it's a nice thought, but it just doesn't seem to play out in reality. Because North American leagues, have a system where poor performing teams have like first pick of drafts or something like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of rebalances it every so often. And you also have salary caps and things like that. In my mind, this makes it more balanced because you rarely have multi-year dynasties. Like, you'll have like the Chicago Bulls 5-year dynasty in the 90s, or Steph Curry's Golden State Warriors, 3-year dynasty, but you won't have like 10-year long winning streak by one team.
Right.
I mean, how would you even balance an open league?
Well, you'd have like a set amount of teams that compete in the league, and then like let's say there's 40 teams and like 30 make it.
Yeah, but like do you think like the fact that like Manchester always wins is like a problem that needs to be solved, or like could be solved by like having something like the NBA draft, like where the draft favors poorer performing teams? I get you can't do that like top to bottom, because then like these amateur tiny clubs in like rural England will get like Lionel Messi or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with soccer, why it's always like that, is because there's no salary cap.
Yeah. So like, do you think a salary cap would act as the solution?
It would definitely help balance things, because then people who have the most money can just buy the
Yeah.
best players.
Yeah, and that
Why all the American leagues have salary caps in every sport: MLB, NBA, NHL.
do you think that's more of a like salary caps are a more contributing factor to North American leagues being more balanced than like the way our drafts are structured?
Yeah, but then now you can look at the NBA and how like now every team is like an all-star team. So like they figure out a way to get that to happen, and like people will just take salary cuts to make the best teams.
Yeah, fair enough. It's but and it seems like with basketball, like what I understand about like the dynasties that did happen, even though like the structure is kind of meant to favor losing teams, they still built it around like a core. Like Phil Jackson built the '90s Chicago Bulls around like a core of like awesome players like Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen.
Right. I mean, that's what was great about like sports back then, is just that you didn't have crazy
Yeah.
all-star teams. You had to make them happen with
Yeah.
what you had.
And Phil Jackson made it happen by well, not him, but like the owner underpaying Scottie Pippen, all this shit. But I guess like you can have a dynasty like that, but like it can only last as long as like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen's knees hold up.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like micromanaging and like organizing personalities on that team.
Yeah,
So
from
like
what I saw.
kept everyone in check and let them be like
Yeah.
they play for you. Right?
Yeah, I don't think I ever really appreciated like how much Dennis Rodman freaked people out.
Yeah, he was a great
No,
golfer.
he's fantastic, but it like the way it was described to me is like Dennis Rodman's like the kind of guy who doesn't have to be like everyone else. Like Phil Jackson called him a backwards walking person. You'd think of it. I would have expected Dennis Rodman kind of a guy who needs attention just because of his hair and his outlandish personality and dating Madonna. That sort of thing. It's what I expected, but apparently that's not the case. Like,
I mean, he was, but like outside of
no,
court.
exactly. Like that's the thing. It had no impact on his play style. Like he's like in a team of like Michael Jordan's ego, he's the defensive guy. Like he's not the guy who needs to like take the glory of the fancy dunks. So it's not what I would have expected of him, and it was interesting to see that like his personality differed so greatly from what I would have expected based on his basketball style.
Did you see The Last Dance?
Yeah, no, I saw it. It was I always knew Michael Jordan was like an egregious shit talker.
I mean, he had to take a lot of shit too, but I mean, definitely had that like alpha mentality and like kept everybody in check.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr hated him for that.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It was interesting, like also seeing like who showed up and who didn't. Like Patrick Ewing didn't show up. Like, so you think he still has a grudge against?
Pretty sure, and like Isaiah Thomas hates him.
Yeah, that's true. Like obviously he didn't seem pleasant to be around, but I mean, can't argue with the results, can you?
Right.
But no, I was surprised at like the thing that surprised me is like because obviously I don't remember Michael Jordan of the '80s because I wasn't alive, but I never knew that his career stretched so much further back, and it was only kind of at the end that he kind of made his dynasty, kind of went out on top in a way.
Yeah.
But well, and then came back.
And then back down.
Yeah, no, the dream team was. I don't think I understood like how fucking legendary Larry Bird was.
And Magic Johnson.
And Magic Johnson, because like I think with Magic Johnson, like the fact like his struggle with AIDS kind of later came to overshadow. It's like with OJ, like people are surprised when I say OJ is one of the greatest football players of all time, because he is.
Yep.
But obviously his career has been overshadowed by the fact he killed some people.
Right.
But
allegedly.
I don't think I can get sued for that because he
Right.
because of the civil case. But because I grew up after, I knew OJ as the football player who killed his wife, so I didn't quite understand how big of a fucking deal it was when it happened, because like I said, he was the greatest football player of all time at that time, and like maybe Jim Brown is like the only guy comparable. He's a movie star, and then he kills someone. Like I didn't have the experience of him before that to fully appreciate how weird the whole thing was.
Yeah.
Like my perspective is kind of after that. And then like similarly for Magic Johnson, like I grew up after Magic Johnson left the league, and after he became kind of I think a very necessary voice for HIV advocacy. Before Magic Johnson, I think a lot of people's thoughts on AIDS was like, oh, it can't happen to me, it only happens to like gay people, or it only happens to people who do heroin, it only happens to such and such. Like when they saw it like it happened to Magic Johnson, I think it probably changed a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, he definitely took the spotlight.
Yeah, but like I said, like because I know him from after, his legacy as a basketball player is kind of overshadowed by his legacy as an AIDS advocate, at least in my mind, just because of when I grew up. Yeah, no, it was
yeah,
it's a weird thing. Back to the soccer thing. I get it now that like it's a huge problem. It would probably the Super League would in some ways make the problems I mentioned with like being dominated by one team would make it worse because of the money they got from this closed Super League.
Yeah, and they kind of just wanted their own league and like not be attached to like FIFA, UEFA, or any of these bigger leagues.
Yeah, which in some ways would be awesome because FIFA's a goddamn piece of shit, and they've made
more
soccer like one of the most corrupt sports on the planet. Like because they sold the World Cup to Qatar, a country that has no business hosting summer sports, for bribe money. It's ridiculous. Part of me appreciates the fact that like the American financiers obviously don't care about FIFA, because Americans don't really care about soccer. So like they come in with their money and they start saying like, we're gonna make our own league, and then FIFA's like, you can't do that, and the Americans are just like, yes, we can. Who are you? It's funny because like the Americans just have no reverence for FIFA at all, which I think is good because it means the FBI can investigate Sepp Blatter and all their improprieties. But it looks like they might have misread the situation in at least among the fans.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, and like if that trickles over to like different sports like the NBA, NHL, MLB. The top players decide to group together and call up their billionaire friends to be like, let's do like, our own league.
At least with the NBA, like with North American sports leagues, there's kind of like less of a need. The North American leagues are already structured around the owners. They're already kind of super leagues, so like they don't have relegation or promotion. So like it wouldn't have the same impact, and I don't think there's as much impetus for it. I'm skeptical it would happen in North America.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. Like I think what they could have tried is like, instead of having like a closed league where like teams that also competed in other leagues competed in the Super League, maybe they could have had new teams made up of the best players of like La Liga and the Premier League and the Bundesliga, and like created new teams, and it was closed and separate from the other leagues, and it wouldn't have mattered because those teams aren't getting like a cut, so it wouldn't have altered the king complex because it would just be a completely separate thing. Like I think that could have worked, or just like if like Manchester United never played in the Premier League again, that could have worked. Like, I'm just saying, like that might have actually, like the first solution doesn't solve like the king complex in regional soccer leagues, but like if Manchester United never gets to play again, and neither does Munich, like I think it could like that could go a little ways into solving the issues of soccer being so dominated by a few by a few teams.
But then you just have a replacement of Manchester or Bayern or
Yeah, you're
whoever.
probably right. You're probably right. All right, that's enough for today. Tune in next time where we discuss the crocodile infested, purpose built capital of the Ivory Coast and if capital cities are indeed necessary in this day and age. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, and don't forget to follow us on social media, podcast_above on Twitter, and the Above Average Podcast everywhere else. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye bye.